day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm here at the May 2024 Metal Investors Forum in Vancouver. I'm here with Tom Ullrich. He's the CEO of Aston Bay, a company I follow and own. It's BAY on the venture and ATBHF on QB, I believe it is, in the US. Aston Bay is a very interesting deal. They've got a huge, and it is huge, project up in Nunavut called Storm. It got my attention really as soon as they started working on it, because it's what's called they're sediment hosted copper targets, and this is a much beloved model for copper deposition because it has created some of the biggest high grade deposits. I mean, there are giant deposits in the copper space. There are high grade deposits in the copper space, but this model is sort of renowned as being the one that gives you the potential for both large scale and high grades, which is a rare combination. And there's not many places in the world that are sort of permissive for this type. One of those places is up in Nunavut. Tom's company got their hands on Storm. They've done a deal with an Aussie group called American West Metals. It's now a joint venture. So one of the good things about that is that this project's pretty far north, so it's not the cheapest place to work. And Aston Bay has now carried their partners doing a very big program. And I wanted to start off with, what's American West doing this year, because you're going to have a ton of news flow basically from here forward.
Absolutely, yeah. So probably the first major thing for us is we're going to have our maiden resource, 43101 compliant resource coming out. So that'll be this month in May. But American West has been very, very active and aggressive in advancing the project. They're able to raise the funds, on the Australian market. This summer's program is going to be, probably $10 to $14 million. That's half my market cap. So
Yep.
That's a significant amount of significant expenditure. And, the plan really is, twofold, increase that resource. So that the goal, our partner stated they would like to double the resource. And so we're going to be doing about 20,000 meters of RC drilling. We're drilling up there right now. We have a track mounted rig and a fly rig. And we'll continue that for a few more weeks. We'll take a couple of weeks off for the spring melt, and then come back probably June, July, and work as long as we can, probably into August and perhaps even September. We'll see how she goes. But again, 20,000 meters RC drilling to increase that near surface resource. And but that's just part of the plan. Right now we're also doing geophysics. We're doing this essentially this moving loop ground EM. EM has been shown. Well, we've had a perfect hit rate for drilling EM targets.
Right.
But the problem that we've had with such as this with the EM is that it doesn't. So far, we haven't really been looking very deeply with it because the rocks are very resistive to the electricity. Too much noise to the signal there. And so we really haven't been able to see more than about 150 meters deep. So that's why all the significant intercepts in the resources that we're working up are all in that top 150 meters. That's great for mining. Economically, it's great. But, we have a significantly thick package here of prospective stratigraphy. So we have, it's actually about 2,000 meters thick. We're not going to be going down 2,000 meters with a drill right now, but that top 500 meters is extremely prospective. And so essentially we have, areas that, we just haven't had a chance to look at yet. But with the geophysics that we're doing right now, essentially it's two phases to that geophysics. One is to again, look in the shallow subsurface, right, but also change the configuration to allow us to look deeper, and really that's where, that big, but the potential we could have here to find one of these big sort of Central African style, copper belt style deposits.
For someone looking at it from the outside, a neophyte and non-geo, it's sort of the same rock package effectively, I guess, maybe repetitions. Then you get these structures that the fluids come up to create these. But what is it about the deeper targets that seems to give them more scale potential?
Well, it's just that, we know that we have that permissive stratigraphy, and we know we've in some of our deep drilling from last year, we've hit the same mineralization in essentially the same minerals, that we see at the surface. We know we have tens of meters of multiple % copper at the surface where we essentially you stumble across it. And, in a couple of drill holes that we drilled last year deeper, we've hit the same mineralization. So we know we have the same processes happening. So it's happening throughout the entire stratigraphic column. And, it's just, you just have that potential there to have something hidden. You have that pre-existing layer in the stratigraphy that has that, the permeability that allowed these fluids to flush through. It's pretty exciting, and then with the previous geophysics that we've done, that was actually, we used to target those holes last year. That was gravity. Gravity is a little bit more difficult to interpret. It doesn't necessarily get you to the core of the system because there's a lot of things at play here. But we found that the EM though is very good. The EM typically gets us to that 2 to 3% copper plus sort of core of things, and then has the potential halo around. So with the geophysics we're doing right now, we think we're going to come up with some new near surface targets that we can actually, and we'll be able to test those with the RC rig very cheaply over this season, this spring season and the summer season. But with this deeper looking geophysics, I'm going to be pretty. If we see anything decent looking, a nice looking conductivity anomaly in the subsurface, we haven't seen anything that explains conductivity in the subsurface except for copper mineralization so far. So anything that we see in that survey from this spring program, I'm going to be very excited to drill it in the summer program. And those deeper anomalies we'll be drilling with a diamond rig. So we're going to have a diamond rig running as well in the summer. You can't really run a diamond core when it's this cold with the fluids involved, but in the summer we're going to get to that. It's going to be pretty exciting. Now,
on top of storm, and normally when you're in a joint venture, the thing someone always worries about is news flow. I know you don't really have that problem with your partners. The Aussies are quite voluble.
Exactly, and they're another junior like us. That's the great thing. That's very. It's great to have a junior as a partner, especially the ones that can raise funds.
Yeah, but even with that, I mean, it's not a problem that needs to be alleviated in your case. You have, in fact, picked up another project. Not quite as far. It's still pretty far north, but not as. It's on the mainland.
That's right.
In Nunavut. That you think may be a similar situation to storm.
Yeah, we know that we have a very similar situation to storm or to the Central African copper deposits. Where we have a significant high grade mineralization right at the surface. Chunks, of like the one I typically cart around is 61% copper and like 5.6 kilograms per ton silver. These are nice numbers, and it's not just that. We have some really nice. So there's zinc involved as well, but more interesting for me is there's some significant cobalt. Like 0.17% cobalt, which is a good start. It's never been chased up, and even some gold, 3 grams per ton gold. So this is it's a significant value add here. Like any one of those things, you can consider the gravy here. It's significant potential. Right?
It's essentially like storm is essentially a stratigraphic model.
Yeah,
and I guess like it's also a pretty big project. I mean, you got a lot of. You've got a big chunk of this stratigraphy, this set of contacts where you think the fluids are moving around. I don't think there's like a massive amount of outcrop. So you've got to do something to narrow things down.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. There is a significant amount of outcrop. I was actually surprised. I've known about this project for over a decade. I loved it geologically. The potential is fantastic. What I didn't like the area because I kind of. I thought it was in the sort of caribou calving grounds and migration zones, but luckily, just in the last couple of years, the Nunavut government has actually put out their land use plan, so they've actually blocked out the area, so you can actually see specifically, where those zones are. Previous operator was Kaizen, working Kaizen Resources up in the area. Friedland's one of Friedland's operations with Dave Broughton, looking in up there. in the end, this before the land use was settled, they just really couldn't get any work done. They had a
Right.
very, very big land package, and it just kind of got jammed up there. But now that this has been settled, and they can see where it sits, we're south of the restricted zones, and actually we're not down in the sort of boggy tundra area, or sorry, muskegee area. It's
Right.
more like the almost barren lands, right? So it's it's really lakes and outcrops, and so it's actually quite it's good for doing work. But what we really need to do is essentially we're trying to answer the same question that we're trying to answer at Storm, and like the one that Dave Broughton and his team answered in the Congo there. Again, you have that near you have the very efficient mineralizing system happening because you can see it in the rocks at the surface. The geologic question is, well, where in the subsurface can you have a portion of that stratigraphy that's has a thick enough package, and it doesn't have to be that thick. In the Congo, 6 meters is a good intercept, right? But has that lateral extent, right? And the way to do that is structurally mapping, and geophysics, right? So that's what we want to do. We're gonna this season we just closed a $1.38 million tranche of our flow-through financing. More coming, but that's enough to get us going on essentially an airborne EM survey. Okay. Again, that Storm EM works like a treat, and so we think here two things that will allow us, if we're lucky, get us a primary target off the EM, but also there is a graphitic horizon here, which normally people think that's going to cause be a negative, but for me, actually, I think that's going to help us a lot because we can use it as a marker bed to trace, where the structure is, in the subsurface and where those horizons are, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting. So we'll do that this summer. Some mapping. We have our new consultant Elizabeth Turner with us. She's been doing a lot of the work with the groups in the Congo over the past decade, and in Central Africa, I should say. Yeah. And and she's also, luckily enough, has been an Arctic sort of soft rock geologist for her entire career. She's walked all she's been walking up there since the 90s or 80s probably, but so I think those two things together, the geophysics and the structural mapping at the surface, that's going to give us a feel for what could be possibly at depth, and then give us those drill targets that we could potentially make the big Storm version 2 discovery.
There you have it, folks. Very, very interesting projects. I mean, Storm's just one of those great projects that's always got the potential to, to throw out a boomer hole and really, really wake the market up. I mean, if you go back and look at last year's chart, the right kind of drill hole can do a lot with the situation. And the new project Epworth is basically the same model, similar stratigraphy. This will be the first go around. I mean, hopefully with a bit of luck, you got a bunch of good drill targets early enough that you can maybe pop a hole or two in here or there. Yeah. So great story. Tons of news flow from their partner. Those guys are great when it comes to keeping the market abreast. So, and it's a copper story. And, this year is copper's year for sure. Yeah. Or probably one of several years to come. So Aston Bay, BAY on the venture, ATBHF, QX in the US. Great story. Thanks for coming by and giving us a lowdown, Tom.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay.